How long did it take you to make the $1 million? Because if you make $25,000 a year and you work for 40 years, you have made $1 million. Are you rich? Yes or no? Type it in the chat. Are you rich? No, you're not rich. You're not rich. You made $1 million, but you're not rich. Okay, but watch this. Let's say instead of 40 years, let's say you make that $1 million in 1 year. Now are you rich? Now are you rich? Come on now, talk to me, my people. Because they both made the same amount of money, but one made it 40 times faster. Let's say you make $1 million in 1 month. Now are you rich? You're 12 times richer than the person that made $1 million a year and 480 times richer than the person who made $1 million in 40 years. So all three people made the same amount of money. The difference in how wealthy they are is not determined by how much money they made, but by how fast they made it. But we've been programmed to be skeptical about making money fast. Now, you don't want to do something illegal. You don't want to do something shady. You don't want to do something underhanded. You don't want to do something sinister to make a lot of money fast. But wealth, by its very nature, denotes speed. And so if you take 40 years to make $1 million, you're not rich. You know why? Because you made it too slowly. If you make $1 million a year, you're rich. You may not be mega Bill Gates wealthy. You're not even Alicia Little, Myron Golden, or Nehemiah Davis wealthy, but you're rich. $1 million a year. And if you ain't rich in $1 million a year, you need to go sell some of that junk you bought. Okay, so y'all are tracking. And so what has to happen is we have to learn how to make money faster. There has never been a tool. There's never been a tool that has had the ability to help regular, ordinary, average, everyday folk like us, generate massive wealth in a very short period of time, anywhere near at the rate of speed that AI has the ability to do it. So did that answer that question, Alicia?
Yes, it did. Thank you so much. And just look at the chat. People are so excited about that. They said, speak the truth. And so let's talk about now that we can build at record speeds. And, you know, you and I have both been in this entrepreneurship and, you know, been working at being business owners for such a long time that we've seen the times when we had to build a website and it took days to build one. Now we can
My
build.
first website took me a month, Alicia. It took me a month.
Mine was green.
What's that?
Mine was green, and Lorette went to college to learn how to build websites. She took an IT class, and the first one she built was ugly and it was green, and it took her forever to build. And now anyone can go to Lovable and with 2 sentences build an amazing website. I showed
mind-blowing.
Yeah, I showed everybody how the last time that I was in your studio where you are right now, and you mentioned something, I got the idea, I built a website right there, right on the spot while I was in your studio from just the idea that you gave everybody. So thank you so much.
I don't even remember what the idea is. Maybe you can text it to me. I'll build one too when I get done.
You had said, like, what does your audience want that you're not giving them? It was so simple. And I was like, my audience wants me to create a website that has all the tools on it so that when I recommend AI tools, that it's all right there. So I just have to send them one place. Everything's in one place. And so while you were talking, I was building the website and I was like, done, right? Something that I would have to have had a developer create and all this kind of stuff.
Everything used to be so hard, Alicia. Everything was hard. Now everything's so easy. It's like, this almost feels like we're living in the Twilight Zone or something. So I didn't know how to build a website. So I went to my brother and I said, dude, it's like, you know technology, I know marketing, we can partner together, we can make all this money, and using the internet. And he had been building websites for people, for businesses, and he would charge them $500, and then they never had all the information that he needed, and then they always wanted to call him in the middle of the night and make changes, just all kinds of weird stuff. So he was not feeling any kind of good vibe about building websites at all, right? I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, we can get rich. I get this thing if I just knew how to technology. And he got so irritated with me asking him, he said to me, look, man, you want to learn how to build a website, do what I did. Go to the church library, get Professor Teach's Microsoft front page, take it out, and then go watch the videos and learn how to build a website yourself. I'm like, wait, we got videos in the church library about building a website? What are we talking about right now, right? And so I went the next day, got those videos. It literally took me 30 days, watch the video, pause the video, go do what it said. Like, and back then you had to, well, go to your index.html file. They talked about it like you were automatically supposed to know what that stuff meant, right? You got to go to the root directory and what are we talking, and now you just, and it's done. So here's what's crazy. Here's what's crazy, Alicia. There's never been a time in human history where it's been easier to create wealth than right now.
Right.
But there's never been a time, there are very few times in human history where it's felt harder. Would you like for me to help people understand why it feels so hard even though it's so easy?
Yes, please.
Okay, here's why. Because in the let me go back to the agricultural age. In the agricultural age, from the beginning of time with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden all the way up to the mid-1700s, the economic infrastructure of the world was based on land. It was based on agriculture. You'd grow crops or you'd raise cattle, you'd raise sheep or whatever. And so it was based on how much land you had. Literally, wealth equaled land. Land equaled wealth. And the people who own the land own the wealth. If you were born into a family that owned land, you were born wealthy. If you were born into a family that didn't own land, you were born poor. And if you were born into a poor family, you'd be poor your whole life. And if you were born into a rich family, you'd be rich your whole life. But the rich people didn't want to farm the land, so what they would do is they would farm out the land. They would let some poor peasants live on their property, and the peasants would farm the land. They would give the peasants enough food to live, to be strong enough to farm the land again another year, and they would take all the wealth. That's, by the way, and the people who owned the land were known as the lords and ladies, and the peasants were the people who lived on the land. By the way, that's where the term landlord comes from. Okay. But wait, there's more. Somebody said, you know what? It's taken us a long time to dig these holes in the ground. We need to build a machine for this. And so in the industrial age, which was what replaced the agricultural age, starting in the mid-1700s and went to all the way up to the 1950s, in the industrial age, people who owned the machines owned the wealth. And if you owned a machine, if you were a person who invented a machine that made something in agricultural work better or faster, you created some kind of leverage, some kind of technology, like trains, planes, automobiles, the cotton gin, tractors, any of that stuff. When you built stuff like that, you became a manufacturer of machines. You own the wealth. That's right, all the tools, exactly. And so the agricultural age lasted for thousands of years. The industrial age only lasted for a couple hundred years. And the people who got wealthy in the industrial age became wealthier than the people who were wealthy in the agricultural age. And then we started manufacturing all this stuff around the world because we had all these machines and all these factories, and then we didn't have a way to get it to people. So the agricultural age created the need for the industrial age, and the industrial age created the need for the distribution age. And during the distribution age,